Okay, can you hear me? I tried to hook up my microphone, which used to work really seamlessly, but it's not working so good. Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. It is Wednesday, May 1st, 2024. I hope everyone has had a great week since I've chatted with you last. Don't worry, there is no behind, okay? Nobody is behind at all. Work at your own pace. You should be able to hear me now. Yes, I know you couldn't hear me right. There is a little delay. Keep that in mind. I could tell you couldn't hear me right when it started. It notified me. Hi, everybody. Hi, Terry. Yay, so good to see everybody tonight. I hope you all, again, have had a great week. I hope that your stitching is going well. And I hope you're excited to work on our borders this evening. That is what the focus is going to be in tonight's video. I know I started going over it last week, but we're going to go even more in depth this week and really kind of focus. Karen has a reason to be behind. She has a new baby. It's a four-legged baby, but that's a lot of work. Hello, Kelly. Okay, is anybody here for the very first time? Is this your first live with me? Let me know in the chat. Give me like little thumbs up or whatever. I love hearing from all of you, and I like to see who's new every night, or each week, I should say. I might be a little distracted. Not distracted. I'm real tired. I did not sleep good, which hardly ever happens. But of course, it happened last night, and I've had a day, so it's just nothing bad. It's just been a long day. I couldn't take a nap. Oh, Heather's still working on the top. Awesome. So good. Today is hubby and 54-year anniversary. Jeanette, congratulations. Happy anniversary. That is amazing. So good. I love that. Yes, Kim is telling Jeanette happy anniversary as well. I love that. Okay, so this week, as I mentioned, we are working on putting a border around our top of our Biscornu, and then we're going to put a border on the bottom of the Biscornu, and we're going to talk about plans for stitching the bottom portion. That is really kind of up to you. We'll talk a little bit more about that. That is what I have slated for next week as our final Stitch With Me week before the finishing tutorial. Kathy is first time here. She loves stitching. Welcome, Kathy. That is awesome. If you have any questions during the live, pop them into the chat, and I do try to keep up with it as we are chatting. Let's see, still working on the top. Maureen says, yes, I think a lot of people are. Full transparency. You guys know I'm stitching more than one. I actually just finished the top of my 32 count. So, just last night. So don't feel bad if you're still working on it. Happy birthday, Lori. She says, happy to spend her birthday stitching with us all. That is awesome. Let's see. Joanne says, I did so well on the first, but on the second one, I'm a half stitch off. Oh no. Hopefully you can find it and it's not too hard to fix, or frog, or you can fudge it enough that it'll work. Trisha says counting is hard. Counting is hard. Counting is really hard. And I sometimes think it really is like our state of mind. Last night I was working on something and I finally just said go to bed because it just did not work out ever. It happens. It happens. Counting and color picking is hard. Kelly says yes. Okay, I am going to flip my camera around. Let's talk about our stitch along. If this is your first week here, we are working on the seasonal Biscornu stitch along. This is my Flossiversary Sal. I am stitching the summer basket from Hands On Design. I am stitching all three. I'll show those here in just a second. I am stitching all three from this on different counts of fabric, but you can choose to stitch winter, spring, or fall. Any of these are going to work pretty much the same. I have samples in all of the other ones. If you haven't seen them, most of you probably have. Here are my examples for the other seasons. We have winter, winter stitched on 36 count. We have spring with my own color conversion stitched on 32 count. We have autumn, also stitched on 32 count and stitched exactly as it called for. Jeanette, I know, it's crazy. I always count when I am, and we're going to talk about that. When I am back stitching the border, I stitch it and I count and I count and I count. So I'm going to tell you guys something that happened to me, not in any of these, but when I stitched my first Biscornu. What happened, I got a half a linen fiber off and I stitched almost, it was a small one, it was 40 count, but I stitched it all the way around, and where my mistake was, there wasn't really a way to fix it. I ended up having to rip the whole thing out. So I have learned, as I get to each halfway point, which I'm going to show you here in a minute, I count. And then I count it again and I count it again. And since doing that, it has solved most of my problems. And then I did mention this last week, but if I come up and go down and I'm not doing the sewing method, I do find that I have a lot more accuracy. It's not my favorite way to stitch. I know a lot of you like to stitch that way anyway, so it's not as natural to me, but I have a lot less mistakes with my backstitch border. Let's see. Oh, yay, Trisha says when she gets this one done, she's doing the spring one next. Oh, that's awesome. Hi, Terry. Let's see. Diane just bought the chart. Yay! I'm glad you're joining in. All of the videos are included in a playlist down or here on my channel, so you can go back and watch them at any time. You can go back and check things, or if you remember me saying something, or you just want, to have some company while you're stitching, you can always watch those. Jennifer says her top has been in timeout since Saturday. Sometimes that has to happen. Let's see. Oh, that's awesome, Steph. Let's see. Let me make sure. Just finishing the bottom tonight, Wendy said. Nice. All right. So that being said, this is what I'm stitching. I did not get my 40 count Biscornu put together today. I had really good plans. I'm trying to get used to my glasses. Here, we're going to have just a small aside. They put bifocals. I got progressives in January. It didn't work. I went back in. They said they'd measured wrong. They cut me new lenses. I gave those like 7 weeks, and I still felt like I was swimming everywhere. I was nauseous. I took my glasses off most of the time. I finally went back in. And he said that they don't actually end up working for everyone. And that was way too long. He said I should have already been able to see and not feel like that. And I thought I'd just been being a baby. So he said we're going to have to put in regular bifocals. You guys, they did that this morning and I hate them. I felt nauseous and sick all day. I've taken my glasses off so I could get some stuff done. Please, please, someone tell me that this goes away. It's been a very, very long time since I've worn glasses, and I don't remember it being this hard. Oh, anyway, there's my sad story for how I feel today. So let's talk about 40 count Biscornu. Yeah, Kathy, he said that there's not a huge percentage of people that they don't work for, but he said it absolutely is the case. And he said it's not always permanent. He said we could always try them again another time, and they may work for me. So we'll see. All right, my 40 count Biscornu design. You can see, here's my top, here's my bottom. I have backstitched the border. Here is what 40 count looks like next to 32. So there's quite a big difference between 32 and 40. There won't be near as much difference with the 36. I only barely got to start on the 36. So we will, I'll show you what I started, and I actually restarted it. That's why it's taking me so long. But I'm really happy. This will be finished. I will likely have a photo to put on social media in the next day or two. But what I opted to do for the bottom of my Biscornu, I was going to stitch it exactly like the corners in the top of the chart. And I decided to swap them, or swap the colors, so that when I put it together, which will be like this, it will kind of go blue, red, blue, red. And you'll see that in the finishing tutorial with how this goes together. I thought it might be kind of cute so that you kind of see that little peak of a different color star. That was my plan for this guy. Got that all stitched. I just need to assemble him. Let's see. How many inches is the 40 count? I don't like this cutting mat. Hold on. Almost 3 3/4 inches. Let's see. I would rather switch. Danielle, that's really interesting you said that. I would rather switch between my distance and readers. Mostly because I don't use my glasses for stitching. I take them off. I use a magnifier. So, and I don't need them. And I don't hold it right up close to my face or anything. I don't use these for computer work. This is not working for me. I really just need the distance. I need it for driving. I guess he must have thought I needed bifocals. Maybe I do. They just aren't working. They're not working. I'll give them a week and we'll see. Oh, good. See, when the eye doctor tells me that it's a very small percentage of people who don't get used to progressives, but you guys have been letting me know, like in my DMs and on Facebook, that is not the case. I have heard from so many people that said, no, they don't work for me. But then you hear from people who absolutely love, love, love them. So it is what it is. Oh my gosh, Maureen, thank you. That makes me feel better. I've been back 3 times. They have cut these lenses 3 times, and I feel horrible because I feel like such a complainer, but also I had a meltdown because I can't see. All right. So let's talk about stitching our border. No more talk about progressive lenses. Here is the top of my 32 count. I could not love this more. I think it is just the prettiest. I actually love all of them. I love these colors. I think they're super pretty. So this week we are going to talk about stitching our border. Now this is totally a personal preference type thing. If you wanted to, each of these stitches are 67 by 67. You can stitch it right up next to that last stitch in the design, so it would be right on that 67 line if you want to. It just means that when your Biscornu folds over or connects, that would be the better way to say it, when it connects to the bottom, it's just going to be a little closer and it's not going to have that little bit of room. Again, there's no right or wrong, totally personal preference. I chose to stitch a 73 by 73 border. So that's basically our 67 by 67 design and adding 3 stitches to each side. What I like to do is I like to find the middle of the chart. Oh, dang it. Hold on, I'm tangled up in something. A cord. That's awesome. So let me zoom in just a teeny tiny bit. So we talked about this briefly last week, and I'm going to show it. I'm going to actually show it over here because it's a fun little challenge I like to do for myself. See how I stitched these little teeny tiny back stitches right in the middle. So that is how we determine right where the center of this side is. When it goes to assembling the top to our bottom, it is going to make it really easy to line up the side of our Biscornu with the corner of the other side. So that is, it's not necessary. It is just something I really, really like to do to get my sides to line up. It's kind of like a double check type thing. And I'm not having to do a bunch of counting when I actually go to put the top and the bottom together. So we're back stitching right in the middle, and this is like stitch 37. So if you start up here, you're going to back stitch 36 times. On the 37th, we're going to just put a little back stitch right in the center. Now, if you're stitching on Aida, I talked about this last week, what I would do is right on either side of stitch 37, I would just put 2 little back stitches just to show you that that is the middle stitch. That way you're not trying to stitch right in the middle. You can. You totally can if you want to. You're not going to see that. It's going to be in the seam allowance, so you don't need to worry about it at all. So whatever you put out here, my friend Lori actually stitched, she made a little back stitch at every 10 stitches just to help keep her on track. And you're not going to see those. So that's totally fine. Let's see. Hi, Kathy. Let's see. Yeah, Natalie said it took about a week for progressives. That's what he said. He said I should have been used to them. Let's see. Alrighty, what we're going to do now, normally when I am back stitching this, I would just start from here and I would back stitch out. So I mentioned this last week. I know it, like math wise, it maybe doesn't make sense, but this is just like my double check. From that middle notch to the corner, it's 36. From this corner to here, it's 36 and 36. So basically I'm always making sure I have 36 stitches on either side if you're using the 73 by 73. Whatever you are stitching, because I know not everyone might be stitching this, some of you are stitching other charts, just figure out what your border is and then the halfway point. I like to start at that halfway point and then work my way around. So let's kind of pretend I haven't started the back stitch. And let's see. Holly, it is only 3 stitches to the border, and I'm going to show you. I'm probably going to show through the magnifier. I think that works the best, but we're going to see. So let's just pretend, as I mentioned, that I haven't backstitched here. I'm actually going to start on this side and show it here, and we're going to get it to meet up. It's also a fun little challenge to see if you can get it to meet up. Let's hope that it does and I don't get angry. That would be bad. Yes. Okay. It's like that's a bifocal right there in my thing. This little whatever it is, the magnifier, extra magnifier. Here is the middle. This one's so easy to tell where the middle is for this one. So counting out, I'm just going to go right here. There's my needle on the outside. I could take it to the middle, but this would be if you have Aida or whatever. And we're going to count 3 stitches up. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to bring my needle up, and then I like to double check again. That's 1. Yeah, I gotta take my glasses off. There's no way I can see. Everything is swimming. There's 1, 2, 3, and that is correct. So I'm just going to make my little regular back stitch line, and then we're going to make that little, what I call a little notch back stitch. And I'm using the loop method. I am using 2 strands of floss on 32 count. Let's see. Hi, Brenda. Julie likes the every 10 stitches idea. So this stitch is the one right in the middle. So this is the one where I am actually going to create that little back stitch mark, which tells me this is the very middle of my line. That means coming out from either side should be 36 stitches. So it's kind of just a little wonky back stitch. And then we're going to simply back stitch to the corner 36 back stitches. And you're going to notice that I am not going to do the sewing method. With linen or even weave especially, I think it's just a lot easier to make sure you don't accidentally grab too many threads, linen threads. Are you doing over 2? Yes. When I am back stitching exactly like I did my cross stitches. I stitched over 2 and I'm doing the back stitch exactly the same. Now I always like to double check several times while I'm stitching. So here I'm just going to bring my needle up and I make sure, am I lining up with a stitch along my line or am I off a thread? That's another way to kind of double check as you're working. Lynn, I can't say. I don't sew clothes. And we're just going to continue to back stitch the border. See, and I want to do the sewing method so bad. I have to stop myself. Now you can. I am only telling you what I have found works for me. After much frustration over grabbing too many threads and counting wrong, I've just learned to take my time with the border. It's worth it in the end because everything goes together so smooth if you have counted correctly. Just finished dinner dishes, Kathy said. Awesome. Beatrice, I'll talk about that in just a minute. Okay, good. I wasn't sure, Holly. Sometimes the question, I might not read things quite correctly either. Sandy hasn't stitched on her Biscornu since last Thursday. That's funny. I have taken a couple breaks here and there and worked on a couple of other things. That's totally okay. And again, all of this will be here when you are ready. I'm going to stitch down to this one side. Hopefully it meets up. And then I'll talk about the back piece. Our goal for this week, and it's just a goal, you don't have to by any means, just work at your own pace. But the goal for this week is to get our backstitch border on the top and then to backstitch the bottom piece. Trisha, thank you. If that was what the question was that Lynn had, thank you for answering that. Yeah, we're not cutting the notch. I call it a notch just because it just notches out, but we're not actually cutting that. Yes, thank you. Heather answered it right too. Thank you, Heather. Yeah, Holly, you'll be glad that you fixed it. And if you see that you're off, my and I've been off many, many times making Biscornus. Make sure you take the time to figure out where you're off, because when you go to assemble, you want it to be exact. Have you seen the new patriotic stitch patterns that were released today at Farm Girl Dry Goods? I have not. I was working like a maniac today. I have not been on anything today. Beatrice, I'm going to have to go check it out. Who's the patterns by? This is where I get my news. Thank you guys. What charts are they? What do I need to go buy? I did see, that's not true. I did pop onto social media briefly when I stopped my workday today. And October House Fiber Arts has a new little skinny thin pillow that, what do they call those pillows? Oh my gosh, you guys, why can't I not think of words? But it's a flag and it's so cute. I don't think it's out yet. I think it's coming out soon. Oh, Kathy completed 10 crocheted infinity scarves for charity. Hi, Amy. That's awesome, Kathy. That's so awesome. Okay, we're getting close to turning the corner. I will count, even though I am fairly certain that this pattern is pretty easy. This is like the easiest one I've done as far as lining up. See, I'm just checking. I got to this corner. I'm making sure that my back stitch is lining up with the linen thread for that corner. It seems silly, but I just feel like you should count and count and count again. Oh no, I know. Sleepless for way too long. Those gift things always seem like a good idea. And then why do we always put those off to the last minute? Always. And then it's such a chore. If they're the new Brenda Gervais, I have seen those. Amanda mentioned that. Grand Old Flag by With the... Oh, I have. Yes. Oh, they are beautiful. Okay. Because I know kind of where this one ends, but I will count. Before I make that turn, I mean, my goal is always not to have to frog. Always. So we're going to stitch, and it should be 3 past where I was, so 2 more, and then we're going to count it. Oh yeah, Beatrice, they are adorable little pillows. I agree. Oh, Amanda, yeah, that swan one by With Thy Needle and Thread is beautiful. Tabitha, yes. I will be honest, I'm counting this. I would not count this if I was not on camera, because I'm sure that this is one of them that I'm pretty sure is correct, but I definitely want to demonstrate it. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is my counting pen, my needle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I didn't do 10 at a time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 36. Perfection. Okay, we're going to meet up with this side, and then we're going to talk about the bottom of the Biscornu. Trisha, I have ordered almost all of the new with eye needle and thread patterns. Yes. Oh, and yes, Cindy, Emily Call has a bunch of beautiful patriotic patterns. We're going to be seeing all the patriotic, I have a feeling. And I'm here for it. That's cool. I like it. What is the cloth count you're stitching on? 32 count. This one is 32. The finished one, the other one, this one, is 40. I showed it a little bit earlier. This one's 40. Isn't it pretty? I love it. Hi, Lucille. Hi, Peg. And again, it's a little slower, but I just do it this way. All of you who don't have to, good. I'm just sharing the tips and tricks that have worked for me so that I don't get mad, especially while I'm live. That would be terrible. I have a tendency to like to fly through these things, and then it doesn't meet up and I'm one thread off, and that just isn't going to work. You know what I'm saying? Danielle, were you thinking of a bolster pillow? Which one? That October House Fiber Arts? It's a little teeny tiny pillow, but yeah, it does look like a bolster pillow. Thank you. That's probably is what I'm thinking of. I need all the help tonight. I actually just need to go to bed probably at early. So who is stitching along with Shari is here in the chat. Shari has a Sal that started today. It's the Botanical Bee Sal. I actually haven't started mine yet. It's all kitted. I really wanted to stitch that tonight, but I may just go to bed. You're welcome, Kathy. Oh, I know what I want. There's something I wanted to put in the thing. I'll do that in a minute. We're almost to meet up. Now, I do know that this one is counted correctly, so I probably won't bore you guys with my counting to 36 here on this side. We'll just meet up, and I'll show you kind of how I finish off the end. I do have a few stitches over on the other side. I'll do those off camera. And then we'll talk about the back, because what I like to do, and I've talked about this from the beginning of the Sal, is I'm showing you exactly how I took a chart that is not charted as a Biscornu and made it one. Square charts are going to work. I definitely think, even though technically all square charts would work, I think you definitely want to pick and choose the square charts. However, you will have to kind of figure a few things out when it's not charted as a Biscornu, like the back or the bottom. Why do I keep calling it the back? The bottom. So because of that, let's just double check that. That looks good. I wanted to stitch along, but I don't have the fabric. Oh no, Retro RX, don't you hate when you know you have something and then you can't find it anywhere? That is like the worst. Yeah, I loved my glasses. And so when he told me I needed bifocals, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I guess I didn't think much about it, but I've had nothing but trouble. And so now I'm sad because I did like my glasses, but now I hate them. That's kind of a strong word. I dislike them. I don't really like to say hate. I dislike them greatly. How about that? Okay, we've met up. So there is that side. So I just have kind of one last corner to stitch. When I get it met up or whatever, I just like to kind of weave it back and forth underneath my back stitches. And I usually go one way. And and then I go back the other way just to make sure they're nice and secure. Scissors, there they are. Looks like I had a long tail there. All right. It'll show up, Retro RX. I'm sure it will. All right, so here is our top. Let's pretend I've stitched it all the way around, okay? So for the bottom, I like to kind of go opposite of what I did for the top. When I'm taking a chart that is not charted as a Biscornu, I like to stitch the design. I like to kind of see what I have. Then I figure out what kind of border. Do I want it right next to it? Do I want it a little further away? All of that good stuff. We just talked about that. Mine is 73 by 73, so it's about 3 stitches away from the outermost point of the stitching. Now that I know that this is 73 by 73, I like to do my backstitch border first. Then I will fill in. If you are taking one of the other designs and putting it on the back of your chart, let's say, for example, you stitched this for the top and you want to do this one for the bottom, make sure you're stitching on the same count fabric. This is 32, so the bottom has to be 32. For this one, this top is 40, the bottom is 40. So what I like to do, because I display bind sitting flat, I don't like to fill in the whole thing. But you could. If you want to flip-flop yours, you totally could just stitch one of these other charts completely and stitch them together. I like to make it a little bit harder. So what I like to do, Sandy, I am using 2 strands for the back stitch on the 32 count. I don't on the 40 or the 36, I use 1 strand. This 40 would have been too tight for 2 strands. Whatever I do for the stitching, I do for the back stitch. So I am going to stitch this border. Now I will tell you, I did start stitching this because I wanted to see if I liked it, and I do. So I do want to talk about what I'm going to do for my corners. I contemplated this. This was something I talked about last week, is I often don't make my final decision until I have stitched or I've been working on the top. So here is how it's going to look. I am going to stitch a portion of this design right here. So this star, but I'm also going to stitch a little bit of it coming out so it fills in more of the corner. So just another little kind of finishing like it does up here, kind of flat. Like you can see this star. Let's use these. It's kind of hard to see. We're going to use my papers. Okay, so there's the star. And then it kind of, oh, actually here, that works good. Let's do it this way. So it's going to look kind of like that. I think that's how I'm going to do it. Now, let me see. I don't think it really matters if your border is even or odd. It just needs to be the same number of back stitches, and you need to mark where the center of your line is. Oh, nice. You're going to, let's see, Becky is going to stitch on her first 32 count. Awesome. Tabitha, it might be okay, but you might want to redo it. It's really, that's a personal preference. I just stitch whatever I stitch for the rest of this. So because I did 2 strands, I do 2 strands for the border. So I am going to continue to stitch my 73 by 73 border here, and then I'm going to fill in each corner with an aqua star so that when these match up together, I kind of liked the idea. You can kind of see what it'll look like. I liked the idea because all of the aqua was in the center on this chart, that there would be a little peak of aqua right here. Not much of the corner shows really. It's really going to look kind of similar to this. And you could do anything. You could repeat this star if you wanted to. Anything is fine. Oh my goodness, Patricia's doing alterations for weddings. I bet that is a bunch of work. Happy May. Let's see. Are you guys talking about fabric from Fabrics by Stephanie? Shari, you had some other suggestions too, didn't you? Let me know. Kathy did a red corner star on the bottom. That is perfect. So let me get my needle and we're going to just go ahead and work on the backstitch border. Normally, I would not have gone ahead and started this star. I just wanted to talk a little bit about it. That is kind of next week's project, is to finish up the bottom of your Biscornu. Lindy Stitches did, oh yeah. Yes, we are. Sleepless for Way Too Long said. There are other, I just think any kind of pretty aqua fabric. I have had mine for quite some time, the fabric. Let's see. Shari thinks someone found the juniper fabric from a store, but you can find other alternatives that are close. So I am going to start right here and we're going to work on finishing our border. I kind of find with the borders and the back stitching, I kind of need to be in the right frame of mind. Like almost, I need to know that that's what I'm going to be working on. Yes, I can show you what I put in the corner of the spring. So the spring chart I completely altered. I used, for the top of my spring, I used this chart here. For the bottom of my Biscornu, I used this chart, but I altered it, and because it's kind of just this flower, these two flowers connected, and then the other one is not, I mirror imaged it to fill in that corner. It was really simple. I did not chart it. Nothing I did I charted. I just kind of eyeballed it and mirror imaged it. And I did that in all four corners because I wanted my corner to show something. And I like it because the flowers are a little bit smaller than the ones on the top. Lagoon, Lynn, yes, you just said the color I was thinking of. Lagoon from Fiber on a Whim is pretty similar. I think the Botanical Bee would be beautiful. Barbara, there is not a formula that I know of for how much is going to show on the bottom. This particular design is a pretty good representation. Because this line almost goes, you know what? It's not a formula, but kind of consider from the middle to the middle is going to somewhat show. So when it's sewn together, that's going to show. So this was the middle of these lines. Does that make sense? That's a really good question. Kind of consider whatever is in this triangle in the corner, from the notch to the notch, which will be your little down corners. That is what's going to show. So everything right here. Like my fabric was like this when I sewed it. So from notch to notch. Does that make sense? Thank you, Joanne. Barbara says the triangle makes sense. Perfect. That's how I figure it. And again, you can stitch the whole thing if you want to. There are a lot of charts that, or a lot of people who choose to stitch the whole thing. For example, this one, part of this star, this is the fall basket, obviously went a little further than the notch to that corner notch to notch, or little backstitch to backstitch, but I didn't want to leave my star incomplete. And it's only, you know, a few stitches on each one. For the winter one, I actually just did, and I kind of kept this one very much from that notch to notch, just like the spring. And I just did the little triangles, and this is from a different chart than what I did for the top. The top is the snowflake. And then this corner of this chart is the corner I stitched in all 4 corners for the bottom piece. This one was super fast, super fast. And I think this one would look cute in any of the Biscornus. You could even mix and match amongst the charts if you have multiples. Jana, thank you for this super chat. That's so sweet of you. Okay, I want to mention, Shari says Lagoon, Beanstalk, and Mint from Fiber on a Whim were her other suggestions for the botanical bee. And Amanda said she ordered some driftwood from Fabrics by Stephanie and it shipped today. And I do want to tell you guys, it may start shipping a little quicker. She has been gone. So I know that there was a little delay and there may still be a slight delay, but she does tend to ship pretty quickly. Oh, and Shari's other suggestion is Jade. I'm going to put it up on the screen by Picture This Plus. Okay, how are we doing on the instructions for the backstitch border? Did I miss anybody's questions? What did you stitch the winter one on? Beatrice said 36 count charcoal Zweigart. And in case you've missed it before, the question I get asked a lot about this, because I chose to stitch it on something other than the flax. Flax is the called for all of the seasons. These are all of the called for colors. And that's a great question from Beatrice, because I had contemplated what to do with my third Biscornu for the summer basket. And I am going to stitch it on the charcoal. Reason being, I am not stacking them. 36, this is 36, this is 32. There is not a huge size difference. So for me, I'm going to stack my 32 and my 40 together. And then I thought this one would be really cute on the charcoal fabric. So I'm going to do kind of what I did here. I will have that to show you. I actually started it on the flax and I just set it aside. I decided I want to start it on the charcoal. I want to show how even the called for floss, how it looks amazing even on that color of fabric. So stay tuned for that. Good question. Thank you. Thank you, Tammy. I feel like I've got all of the things right here tonight. All of the things. Natalie wants to know Shari's floss tube. I'm going to grab it. How about that? I'll just grab it and I'll put it in the chat real fast. And it is just her name, but we'll run over and grab it. It'll only take me a second. First, I'm going to put this. I just remembered something else I wanted to put in the chat. So, you guys, It's a new month. Fat Quarter Shop does sales every month, and hands-on design charts are on sale. I'll just put a link in here really quick. And now we're going to go get Shari's YouTube. So if you were looking for any other hands-on design charts, check that out. I put a lot of my favorite ones down in the description tonight. And here is Shari's YouTube. Oh gosh, Nicole, pick the right button, right button, right button. There you go. I put Shari's YouTube handle there, or YouTube channel for anyone. I'm not fancy either, Shari. It's just my name too. Oh, hi. Let's switch back to the hand view, shall we? Just talking away, not paying attention. When you stitch the border on the bottom, where did you start, since you said do the border before stitching? Hope that's clear. Yes, it is. I will show you. On the bottom piece, I start in the corner. So for the top, I told you I start in the center. That's just because I'm centering it with the center of the design. Now that I know it's 73 by 73, I start in the corner and I stitch 36 stitches on the 37th. I make a little back stitch in the middle, and then I stitch 36 more. And then I make the corner and come down. And I will do this one just in a square. I won't do the funny little starting in the middle thing, but I will mark the center of each line. It's really important. Well, it's important if you don't want to count during assembly, and I don't. Did I answer that, Jeannie? Let me know. You are welcome. Shelly decided not a fan of linen, but pushed through. Oh, shoot. I think linen, well, A, it takes a little practice, and B, sometimes it's just not for you. That happens. I should have done a poll tonight, but I cannot believe how fast an hour goes. Frank, do you want to say hi to everybody as we finishing up? Does anyone have any more questions on stitching the border? I'll have this border stitched, and then I'll be working on, I'll probably likely finish stitching the bottom of my Biscornu Live next week. Next week will be our final Stitch With Me Live. The week after is going to be our finishing tutorial, pre-recorded, but it will be a premiere and I will be live in the chat. Lori has some great advice on linen. She thinks a variety of linen because different manufacturers have different feels and weave and tightness, for sure. She says some she loves and some not so much. And I'm working around a little slub. I know some people don't love the slubs. Oh, this might be a good time to stop if I've got a knot. Oh, gee. Darn it. There we go. So see that slub in the fabric where it's super uneven? I actually don't mind them, but if you are working around them, just make sure you take your time and it lines up. All right. I'm going to flip this around. Mila says, how do you decide the placement of the design in the bottom? On the bottom, I want it, darn it, let's flip this back to the right camera. I want it to be the same distance from the back stitch line as the top. So I know that it is 3 stitches away. So I want to make sure that I am 3 stitches away here and here. That's how I determine my placement. The reason I stitch my backstitch border first on the bottom is because then I go in and I figure out so that it looks consistent. Same here. These are all 3 stitches away. So is this one. I did all of these just like that. I got a little thread. So that is how I go about determining that, is I just make sure that it's 3 stitches away and centered. Hi, Privies and Prims Needlecrafts. Jana says it's so true about linen. The more she's tried, the more she finds out which ones she likes and which ones she doesn't. Come here and say hi to everybody. You haven't said hi in forever. Here is my Frank. Look right here. Show everybody how cute you are. You good boy? All right, anyone else have any other questions? Lori loves Fabrics by Stephanie. She likes colors and cotton, and she's stitched a lot on Weeks. I will say I find that Weeks is probably maybe not the loosest, but I do like Weeks Dye Works linen. I do think it's a little bit looser to stitch on, I guess, if you will. He is a cutie. Why are you breathing hard? I thought nobody has seen him in a little bit. Where's your little underbite? His underbite is hilarious. You want to come here, Odin? Come here. I can only do one at a time. And here's my Odin. Look right here. No, look right here. Oh, I just love my boys. They're good boys. Aren't they? Oh. All right. Question on the spring bottom, your triangle designs go all the way around. They do. That is a good question. Because when I did this, I found that they evenly stitched. There we go. Actually, I'm going to just switch cameras. I found that they measured evenly all the way around, and I didn't want to have like a big gaping hole. I could have left these off, but it was what? 4, 7, 8 stitches each, so 16 stitches. I thought I can do that. I like the continuous line. Privies and Prim says she likes linen that you can't see through because she always carries over. I love that. Odin is cute too. Thank you, Tammy. Scout says hi. Hello, Scout. Yeah, linen is a personal preference, and all of the advice is super good. If you can, a lot of times, if you have an LNS, you can try, like, they'll have grab bags or sample bags. Those are awesome. 1, 2, 3 Stitch sells some tiny little cuts of fabric. Those are awesome to try too, just so you can kind of get a feel for the different linens and what you maybe like. I like all of the ones that Lori mentioned. And what's funny, I know a lot of people love Picture This Plus because it's very tight. It is probably one I don't love as much because of that. I will stitch on it for certain colors and things, but it's very much personal preference. Let's see. Pam did her bee in Beanstalk. That is perfect. So Crazy said her baby got a bath today. Soft and fluffy. Yes, I love when they're clean. That's fun. see. Did I miss anybody's questions? I'm going to scroll back just a minute. I think I've caught all of them. Hattie, oh, Karen's baby Hattie is adorable. Becky, thank you. Yes, don't be scared. Just give it a try. I have ripped out many things. I was going to say much things, but many things. And just keep trying. And I think it's just like anything. The more you practice, the more comfortable you get with it. And sometimes you end up loving something and sometimes you don't. And that's okay. That's okay. Jana has great advice. She says, don't give up on linen. You may have chosen one that you didn't like and you will like another one, which is very, very true. That's a fantastic point. Thank you, Jana. Oh, thank you so much, Kim. I appreciate it. Okay, so our assignment this week is to finish backstitching our top and our bottom. Next week, we're going to work or finish working on our bottom design, which is not, for me, that's not that much stitching. If you're going to do all over design, go ahead and get that started. And we're just going to finish that up and we will be ready to assemble for that final week. So thank you guys as always for joining me. I appreciate you all so much. Have a wonderful week. If you have any questions, if you're watching this replay, drop them down in the comments and we will get them answered. Thank you and have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel, click that like button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to always be notified when I have a new Flosstube stitching or quilting video. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.